Hello, darlings. Welcome to Intuitive Nature, the Masterclass. I am so excited to be here with you. I am so excited to deliver this information. This has been on my heart for weeks now, and I am just so thrilled and so excited that I have the opportunity to be here with you and to share what I've been creating, to share what's been coming through for me, and just to be here in community with you and letting you experience and letting you be a part of this creation that I have essentially birthed, that I have brought to life. And so many of you have played a part in this, whether this was a conversation, whether this was a piece of inspiration or encouragement. I am just so incredibly grateful. So I'll give you a few moments to pop on if you just want to make sure that you have your journal and pen available. You're going to want to take some notes, and feel free to also have up your intuitive archetypes from my post. If you have that available for you, if you have that available, or if you want to peek at that, that's going to be useful. We're going to be unpacking that and moving through that. So, before we dive in, I would just like to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Ashlyn. I am an intuitive and soul alignment coach, helping you anchor into your soul's purpose, your soul's mission, and also helping you really tap into your intuition and harness that power and letting that begin to drive the purpose of your life. So, I am here on Intuitive Nature, the Masterclass, to share with you the 7 intuitive archetypes that I have created and built out. Hi, Brittany. Hi, beauty. Hi, love. So happy to see you. And so not only will we be starting to unpack the 7 intuitive archetypes, but I'm also going to be sharing with you some tips on how to authentically connect to your intuition. So, let's go ahead and let's dive in. Feel free to pop any questions in the comments. Feel free to send me some hearts if anything I say is landing. I am so excited to hear your feedback of the intuitive archetypes, hear which archetype resonates with you most, and we'll get into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited. So, we are here at Intuitive Nature, the Masterclass, and I've called this Intuitive Nature because initially intuition is your nature. And I think sometimes that we forget that. We forget that we are separate, or that we forget that we are a part of intuition. We consider ourselves separate from this gift. And really, intuition is an aspect of your human instincts, and you are an intuitive being by nature. Just by being you, just by being alive, you possess the gift of intuition. So I'm here to remind you that in case you forgot. I'm here to awaken that in your heart. I'm here to awaken that in your soul and give you permission to lean into your intuition. If you were one of those people who are like, I'm not intuitive, I don't know, you are. Believe in yourself. We're going to unpack that a little bit more. And so intuition is literally coded into your DNA. So this is passed down from your ancestors who relied on intuition, on this powerful instinct to, in fact, keep them alive, to survive in the world. So that has been passed down through generations and has landed here in this moment inside of your body, inside of your soul, where it still lies today, where it always has been, and where it always will be for the rest of your life. So celebrate that, lean into that, and know that intuition is your birthright, again, passed down from generation to generation. This is a piece of you. This is an aspect of the divine that lives within you. And although intuition may be your birthright, just not all know how to communicate with it. And since sometimes you don't know how to communicate with that part of yourself, you may not understand it. And when you don't understand something, you're less likely to trust it. And when you're less likely to trust something within yourself, you're obviously less likely to use it. So seeing how that pattern starts to go in motion within the fact that maybe you don't know how to communicate with this piece of you, with this aspect of you. And that's what we're doing today inside of this masterclass, is really seeing yourself in these different archetypes and giving yourself permission to trust how that communication comes through for you, and to be in conversation with that piece of you that already knows, with that piece of you that is already alive inside of you. And so we're here to celebrate that. Yay! Hi! So happy to see you all. Hi Lisa, hi Abby, hi Catherine, hi Jackie. Yay! So we are just scratching the surface. So before we get too far in, I totally recognize, and if you know me, I am all about intuition and really identifying it as the language of the soul and an aspect of the divine that lives within. However, I want to bring intuition back into grounded form. Yes, it is this beautiful, amazing superpower, this mystical gift that we absolutely do possess. But I also want to take a moment and break down the stigma that intuition, like you have to be, a fortune teller with a crystal ball, or like have, your palm reading, or you have to have all of these external tools in order to connect to your intuition. I don't know about you, but growing up, that's how I always viewed intuition, was in a form of someone like a fortune teller with a crystal ball, with, maybe a witch with the sixth scent or something like that. So I'm here to also break down that stigma and bring this back into grounded form. So if you think about intuition, everybody uses intuition. However, they may not call it intuition. They may not use it and refer to it as this divine gift. Like, think about the incredible people who are in, maybe not incredible, but the people who are in the stock markets, who are investing money. They somehow just know when to invest. They somehow just know when to pull their money out. And obviously there's like a science behind that, but that has to do a lot with intuition. It has to do a lot with trusting yourself. And leaders and successful people all trust their intuition. They have that nudge inside of them telling them to do something, to go for it, to do the next big thing, even if it doesn't make sense. To write that book when you have a million things on your list, to buy that property when you have zero money. That is your intuition speaking to you. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, and sometimes it's not always this divine rainbows and butterflies and crystal balls how it comes through, but it is absolutely there inside of us, whether you recognize it as a piece of the divine or whether you recognize it as an instinct. It is one of the same. And really learning to trust that part of yourself, essentially in a bigger picture, learning to trust your soul's guidance is what's going to initiate your intuition. Hi beauties, so happy you're popping in the comments. I love them. I love them. I love them. So I would just love to share a little bit about like my journey and coming to this place where all of a sudden, like, literally, I was talking to Lisa earlier that this download came through, and I was like, I don't typically get like these downloads where it's like, oh my god, this information, here it is, but like that's kind of what happened. And I never might consider intuition to be one of my strong points or one of my true gifts, because I knew intuition was there only because it was an afterthought, only because it was a part of recognizing a mistake I had made, or recognizing the wrong decision I had made. Even as simple as like driving in the car and being like at a crossroads and being like, which way should I take home? And like my gut's like, ooh, go that way, but my brain's like, no, go this way, like this, it's faster, there's less lights. And then I take the shorter way home, and of course there's traffic, there's an accident, the light's out or something like that, and then like kicking myself later, being like, oh my god, I knew I should have listened to that piece of me that told me to go the opposite way. And I know that's such a small example, but even in bigger examples as well. I was in a relationship that was near and dear to my heart for 5 years, and I started getting this nudge, this feeling, this physical experience within my body that I had to leave, and I was ignoring it, and it made me sick, physically ill. And I ignored it until I couldn't ignore it anymore. So, yeah, again, something as tiny as taking a turn, or something as big as, you know, leaving a relationship, going into a relationship, buying a house, leaving a house, whatever it is, just beginning to really understand how that piece of you wants to come through, and giving yourself permission to trust back into that piece. And so oftentimes we're not even aware of our intuition until, again, it's like after the fact. The example of driving home, taking one way or the other, and sometimes you're just like, oh, I'm gonna take the scenic route home, and it doesn't really make sense why. And maybe, again, it's a feeling, it's a whisper, it's a pull, it's a voice that you hear, or whatever. And then you get home later to find out the typical route that you take home, there was a huge accident, that you could have possibly been in that accident, or seeing how that begins to play out. And sometimes we're not even aware of it until the aftermath. And that's something important to recognize too, because I think that we discount that and we don't celebrate that, because it's not this like huge like angel coming in front of us and telling us, Jackie, Jody, Lisa, go the other way home. Like, right? It comes as an afterthought. It comes after. And that is okay. And recognize that and celebrate that. So can you guys relate to that? Have you been in an experience like that? Send me some hearts if you have. Feel free to drop it in the comments. Awesome. Perfect. We're gonna keep on moving. So not only discounting my intuition, but also like never considering myself an intuitive person. And I always looked to all of these other resources and admiring this gift that they had. Like, I thought that intuition was this incredible gift that only certain people possessed and only certain people seemed to have. Like, growing up, I watched The Sixth Sense, like this little boy seeing dead people, like, oh, he could see things that not other people could see. I watched That's So Raven, Send Me Some Hearts if you remember that show. Season to the Future, right? Or even like Long Island Medium, where she would just like go up to random people and like, hey, your dead grandmother says hello and she wants me to send you this message. I was like so in awe. I was like, I want to be special. I want to be able to possess that gift. Why not me? I want that so badly. And I was glorifying these particular and certain forms of how people were communicating with their intuition. And so growing up, and even just recently, like, I would go to psychics, I would go to fortune tellers, I would go to astrologers, I would go to tarot card readers, who are all amazing and talented humans with these incredible gifts. And I would go to them to find clarity, to ask them questions, to seek out answers. And the funny thing was, and drop me some hearts if you can relate to this, at the end of those sessions, I was like, oh, yeah, I knew that. Ooh, yeah, like, you're totally right. I know that. I knew you were going to say that. I knew that was the card you were going to draw. I knew the meaning behind it. And so you do possess that gift of intuition. Sometimes it just needs to be reflected back to you in certain ways. Sometimes you need someone else to reinforce it. So those tools are amazing, and those tools are so great. And those humans who provide those spaces and those opportunities really, truly do possess a gift. But I was going to other people looking for my intuition within them, instead of trusting myself and knowing that and standing confidently in the communication of my soul, then moving into those spaces for confirmation, to be in communication with the higher force. And so when we are in that constant state of comparison, again, of comparing your intuition to That's So Raven, to The Sixth Sense, to, this person you see on Instagram, putting these other people who possess this gift up on a pedestal, you begin to really rob yourself of that experience, and rob yourself of that own gift. And I did this for so long because my intuition didn't look like anybody else's. It didn't look like seeing dead people, which, like, thank God. And if that's you, like, that's probably a really incredible gift. I would love to hear more. If that's you, message me after. And, intuition coming through like a crystal ball, or like hearing stuff, like I would just hear these stories and wonder like why I couldn't communicate like that, why I wasn't this psychic, or why I wasn't this fortune teller, or why I couldn't see into the future. And when we're in this constant state of comparison, looking at how other people's intuition looks, we're unable to truly listen to our own intuition. We're unable to truly look at how it's coming through. We're unable to really trust and anchor into our soul's own knowing. And I discounted one of my intuitive gifts for so long. And I know I have a few yoga teachers on here, so shoot me some hearts if this resonates and lands with you. But being inside of a yoga class and just knowing intuitively what to teach. For a long time, I didn't plan out my classes. I would just walk into a room, trust that whatever was coming through, whatever was coming out of my mouth, whatever the next pose was going to be the right pose. And after class, people would come up and say, oh my God, that was exactly what I needed. And discounting that, or seeing something in someone else's body, looking at the way that they were structured or the way that they were holding themselves, and just knowing, hey, do this, or take a deeper breath, or try it in this form or this way. And you could see their body relax. Again, just that intuitive gift of knowing, of having a feeling that someone just needed a slight adjustment, or they needed this style of class today. And I discounted that for so long, and just being a channel of, getting through a yoga class and getting out, and one of the other teachers asking me, hey, Ash, what did you teach? And I'd be like, I have no idea. I can't even remember, because I was just so present to what was coming through, just letting my soul communicate that through me to the room, to the students, to the energy, and to the space, that like human Ashlyn form, my mind couldn't remember, because I was so tapped into my soul. Lisa says, yes, Yep, that's the gift of being a yoga teacher, the gift of intuition. So, yay, that's amazing. Yeah, so understanding, maybe just taking a moment and looking back and seeing how you've discounted your intuition and how it's come through for you, and what happens also when you discount your intuition. What events follow, and how do you feel? Again, I would always be like kicking myself and angry and upset. And that's not how intuition works. Like, it's not meant to punish you at all. And so when we have that shift, when we shift from like kicking ourselves and punishing ourselves from not listening to our intuition, when we're able to celebrate it and simply like pause, take a breath, and be present to what's happening, how that is coming through, that can be actually celebrated. So that is really why I created these 7 intuitive archetypes, was to really give you permission to see yourself in these different archetypes, and to reinforce and confirm your intuitive gift. Because like I said at the beginning, you are an intuitive being. Intuition is your nature. It's encoded in your DNA. And that is so amazing. So once you're able to kind of see it in other forms, and my favorite is archetypes, that gives you permission to really celebrate that, to elevate that, to fully own that, and to truly just validate your experience. I think that's what I was looking for so long, was validation of my experience. And that's why I would go to the tarot readers and the astrologers and the fortune tellers, and all of these other people, looking outside of myself instead of feeling empowered in my intuition and empowered in my decision. Because sometimes you do need that confirmation, you do need that validation from the universe, and this is what it's here to do. And so first off, before we start to unpack these 7 intuitive archetypes, know that it is safe to trust your intuition. That's why I ask you to journal back and recall the times that intuition came through for you, and maybe it was a warning, maybe it saved you from a certain situation. Or what happened when you didn't listen to your intuition and maybe it wasn't the result that you wanted, or maybe it wasn't the best outcome. And so again, your intuition is working for your highest good. That's so important to remember. And again, knowing that it is safe to trust it. So again, kind of reverse engineering that. Again, intuition is a language of the soul, just not all know how to communicate with it. And when you don't know how to communicate with it, you don't know how to trust it. When you don't trust something, you're less likely to use it. So again, it is safe to trust your intuition. It is safe to be in conversation and communication with this part of you. And once you lean into that, once you take ownership of that, that story of I don't know is no more. There's no room, there's no more space for that, because in fact you do know. That becomes now an excuse. And so again, there's this whole new level of ownership once you really decide to lean in and trust your intuition. You don't get to play victim to I don't know anymore, and that can be really scary for some people. So recognize if that story has been super present in your life. Recognize if I don't know comes up a lot for you, and see where the root of that is, where that's coming from. I don't know means maybe that you don't trust yourself. And that's okay. That's what we're doing, is we're simply just building trust. Some days it's good, some days it's bad. Sometimes the trust muscle is strong and other days it is weak. And that's another thing. Intuition is like a muscle. You can build it and strengthen it by continuing to use it and trust it and play with it. It gets to be a playful experience, and really just understanding your intuition. So, these 7 intuitive archetypes are not meant to box you in. They are not meant to limit you. I know that intuition can absolutely come through in many forms, in many ways, and maybe for you it doesn't come through one of these seven archetypes, and that's okay. Again, your experience is valid. The communication you have with your soul is sacred, and I'm not here to tell you that it is right or it is wrong, that the way your intuition looks or feels or comes through is right or wrong. Again, it's just simply an experience. And again, I am here and I've created these 7 archetypes because that is what has come through to me and what I have seen in my clients and the research that I've done. But no, if you don't find yourself in one of these, that doesn't mean that you're not intuitive. Again, these are just here to validate you. These are here so you can see yourself in these archetypes and heighten your gifts and harness the power of each of them. And if you're new to intuition, if you're new to this work, I would encourage you to maybe find one of these archetypes that really resonates and gravitates towards your soul. If you can find one that you're like, yes, I think that's it, I encourage you to lean into that one and really play with that channel and that archetype and start to build that trust with just one. I know intuition can come through maybe even all 7, especially at different times in different situations. So it's not like you're just one archetype and that's you and that's only you. Again, you can embody all 7 at different times. You can tap into the beholder at one point and the oracle at another, and tap into the dreamer when you're dreaming. Like, obviously you're not gonna be able to tap into the empath when you're dreaming. It's most likely going to be the dreamer. So just understanding that you're not limited to one. If your intuition doesn't look like any of these 7, that's okay too. And know that you can just focus on one and start to build that strength and that communication and that trust, and it'll still serve you. It'll still be beneficial. So here we are, my friends. We are about to now finally dive into these 7 archetypes. And so know that this is just an intro. Know that here we are just simply scratching the surface. I have a mini course called Intention and Intuition happening this weekend that is 2 days long. So 2 days of diving deeper into this, unpacking this even more, because there is so much depth, so much potency behind all 7 of these. I mean, if you think about it, if I'm going to talk about one per minute, that's already going to be 7 minutes. And so bear with me, grab your journals, grab your pens. Please use the chat. I would love to hear if one resonates with you more, if there's a particular situation where that archetype you embodied and that's how your intuition came through. So let's go ahead and let's begin with the empath. So I believe that we are all empathetic humans. That is, again, just a part of our nature. We are all energetic creatures, so we can understand energy, whether we know it or not. We are all empathetic beings, but this gift is really the intuitive gift of your intuition communicating to you through energetic feelings and emotions. So bear with me on this one. I do this one first because understand all of these are intuition is something that is indescribable, right? And so trying to describe and put words to all of these has been challenging, but I trust what is coming through, and feel free to drop in the comments if you have anything to add. I would love to hear. So the empath comes through as energetic feeling or an emotion. And so you tend to feel emotions very strongly when you embody the empath archetype. And this is the definition of walking into a room and like immediately getting good vibes or bad vibes from a room, from a person, whatever it is, just that like feeling of like, yeah, I don't know, or like, like that person, like that energetic feeling of like vibes and vibration. That's how the empath communicates. And really, the empath comes through as an afterthought a lot of the times, finding yourself saying after an event, oh, I had a feeling that was going to happen. I had a feeling she was going to say that. Oh, I had a feeling that you were pregnant and it was a girl or a boy or whatever it is. That feeling that you're giving voice to, that is the empath. And so the gift of the empath is obviously being empathetic, is understanding feeling and energy and emotions, especially when you're around other people. This one typically comes through when you're around other people because you feed off of that energy. You're able to really understand someone's energy or their aura or whatever it is. So yes, Caitlin says totally resonates. Sometimes separating what's mine versus someone else's is tricky. Exactly. So we're going to get a little more into that, into in intention and intuition. Really discerning what is ego and what is intuition. And we're also going to get into the chakra systems. There's 7 archetypes, there's 7 chakras. Like, we are going deep, friends. So join me this weekend if this is resonating, you want to learn more. So Libby says, yeah, girl. So we will move on to the next archetype, which is the listener. So this one's pretty obvious. The listener comes through as intuition that is heard in words or phrases inside of the mind. And this one like isn't really me, like, if you know me, like, I'm always like, what? Huh? What did you say? What was the lyrics in that song? Like, just like not a very audible aware person. But the example I like to use with this intuitive archetype is if anyone has ever read the book or seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love. And at the very beginning, Liz Gilbert knows that she has to leave her marriage, that is no longer right, and she goes into the bathroom and is crying on her bathroom floor, just in despair, just in not knowing what to do. And in the book and even in the movie, there's a voice that says, Liz, get off the floor and go back to bed. And later in interviews, Elizabeth Gilbert, the author, says that that was a voice that she heard. It was a voice, and it wasn't outside of herself, but it is a voice that comes from within. And this intuitive archetype can be a little tricky because we all have a voice inside of our head, right? That voice is constantly talking. That voice is constantly giving us feedback. However, like Caitlin said, this is where we begin to discern what is ego and what is soul, what is intuition. And so typically this can come through as a soft whisper, and experiencing intuition, letting it come through in times of maybe silence. I was just talking to interviewing a client earlier, and she was like, I need silence. Like, she loves music, and she is all about concerts, but she's like, I crave silence during my meditations, and I live in a house right now with a few roommates, and it's a little difficult to find those moments of silence because that's how I meditate and that's how my intuition comes through. And I'm like, yes. So craving that silence is going to be a key to connecting to your intuition, eliminating all of the audible distractions. However, on the other end of this coin, usually the listener has a really, really good taste in music, loves sound, is very in tune with the sounds around them, is maybe a musical person, can read music, can hear notes, can like tune a guitar. Again, this ain't me. I worked in the music industry for years only because I couldn't play an instrument. I loved it so much, but didn't have the ears. And so, note that, excuse me, intuition can also come through when you are listening to a song that you love, when you hear the lyrics and something just lands and it like touches your heart and you get inspiration, or something else comes through. So it can also come through when you're listening to music. I find that the listener archetype is also like a lover of language, is loving, being articulate and learning a new language and studying a language, just fascinated by voice and by this form of vibration. So I also like to think that the listener, this archetype, comes through as a vibrational form, although that's not directly from our voice, but definitely a vibration that we can hear. Maybe not with like our human physical ears, but we hear it within, right? Yeah, so got a few hearts. Ooh, Caitlin says, oh, I never thought of trying intuition, hearing a lyric. Ooh, yeah, definitely. Try that out. Let me know how it goes. So next we will move into the beholder. And the archetype of the beholder is really the energy of the visionary. And so oftentimes intuition comes through by seeing pictures, images, symbols, small little movies, or even geometry within the mind. Oftentimes these people can see or visualize something before it actually happens. So, again, this archetype really embodies the sixth sense, or some of those more intuitive gifts of like seeing something physically manifest, but knowing that it's also like just a visual that comes through in your head. And you may resonate with this archetype if you're a very visual person, if you like photography or like to paint or really experiment and be creative through colors and crafts. I know, Caitlin, you're on here. I was like, I think you're this one, just because Caitlin is an amazing artist, a beautiful painter. And I was like, I think you're this one. And she's like, one of them, am I right? And so usually these people really have like an eye for decor and good art, and can really see things in spatial awareness. And maybe like an interior designer or a construction management who can knock down a building and have a complete new vision for what this building is going to look like. And so also, this is how I've started to create my programs and lean into the place of inspiration. Is I kind of get an image in my head or colors, and then I go straight to Canva. I do my thing, I'll create some graphics or whatever it is, and that's how this masterclass started to unfold. Is I had no idea what I was going to talk about here. Surprise! I created the graphic first. I wanted to feel into the vibe I wanted to create. I wanted to feel into the feeling I wanted you to experience inside of this container. And then from that place, more information started to come through, but first allowing myself to just create the vision that I had inside of my head, to create the colors, and that began to expand. So know that intuition can also come through that way. Yes, Caitlin's on here. Yep, I had that happen a few times. That's amazing. So we will now move into the oracle. So the oracle is having intuition come through as knowing and as wisdom without any logic or without any, without anything really to support it. Again, it's just kind of this unknown wisdom. And this can come through, like, people say, oh yeah, I had that hunch. I have a hunch that it's gonna rain today. Like, that's the language I usually find that's associated with the oracle and with that deeper sense of just like knowing, right? This also can come through forms of deja vu, just like kind of like, whoa, I know I've been here before, like, oh, like I've had this experience before, just kind of that like that wisdom that you already have that you're re-experiencing through that form of deja vu. And oftentimes the oracle, this archetype, the people who associate with this, or when it comes through as the oracle, these people like just like know what time it is without having a watch, without looking outside. They just like know. Again, it's that knowing. Or they have like a really good sense of direction. They just know where they are at all times. They know where north, east, south, and west is. I live in Colorado. Mountains are always in the west. If you take me outside of Colorado, I can't get out of a cardboard box. So my boyfriend Evan is a very, I think he's the oracle. Don't tell him that, but I don't know. He is, knows what time it is, knows directions like the back of his head. He doesn't need to look at a map ever. And also along the lines of the oracle, people who really tune into this archetype typically like have the gift of reading people. And that's what Evan says. He's like, I'm really good at reading people. And you just like know when someone shows up, like you're like, like, not only just like reading their body language, but somehow they just like know information about you. They can just like put the pieces together inside of their mind and like read your personality. So that's an amazing gift of the oracle. Yes. Keelan says, I have a terrible sense of direction too. Oh my gosh. Like, thank God for Google Maps. Like, Jackie says, LOL, same with Chicago. The lake is always east. Yep. And I think that we've been a little conditioned with our phones. We've definitely been granted that gift with our phones of just like, we don't know where anything is because it's on our phones, which is fine. So the oracle, I'd love to hear if that's you, if how that like knowing comes through. And again, like looking back, if there was something where you're like, oh, I knew that, I just knew that. Again, like, that knowing. And again, these are all, they kind of cross, they intertwine, but noticing like what these little distinct differences are in the language that you use when you're communicating with your intuition. Or again, like the after fact is such a powerful tool. Noticing how you regurgitate, how you tell and talk about your intuition. Again, oh yeah, I knew that. Oh, I felt that. I had that feeling. Bye, Jackie. I love you. So we will now move into the soma. And so the soma is when intuition comes through as a physical feeling or somatic experience. So this sounds like the empath, but it is different. So the soma uses body cues. Again, physical feelings within the physical body. Like the gut feeling. Like I had that gut feeling. You literally feel that pit in your stomach, or that hunch lives in your stomach. This can also like manifest as butterflies or a stomach ache. This can also live within the heart, like, oof, like my heart's racing really fast. What's going on? What do I need to listen to? Or, the throat, like, I can't swallow fully, or there's a lump in my throat. So listening now to these physical body cues, and it's not just limited to the stomach, the heart, and the throat. It can be anywhere within the body. And I also like to relate this to anybody who has an injury. When they're like, oh, it's gonna rain. Obviously, there's, science behind that too, but letting that be an intuitive cue, right? Yeah, just like really being aware in your body and noticing how your body responds to certain situations, knowing how your body responds when maybe danger is coming. Again, this is really the instinctual part of intuition. And the body holds so much wisdom. The body can heal itself. When you cut yourself, the body knows how to create a scab. Wisdom is held within. So your body by nature is designed to tell you intuitively when there's a warning, when something's not right, when to do something, when something's good. And really, you just have to commit to being in conversation with your body, to pausing, breathing, going inward, and simply just getting curious. What is happening? Why is this happening? Listening to that again. You can trust your body. Your body has been holding you up, has been holding you steady for how many ever years, from the moment you literally entered this world, from the moment you literally took your first breath. So yeah, give your body a little more credit, give your body a little more permission. And I relate a lot to the soma, especially being a yoga teacher, like so much body awareness, looking at other people's bodies, seeing where they hold tension, understanding that. And also, I used to get really bad stomach aches. I would almost get ulcers when I was little. The story that I just touched on of leaving a relationship, a 5-year relationship, moving out of the house that I bought with the person I was with, I literally got a stomach ulcer because I refused to listen to my intuition. It was that gut feeling. My heart was constantly racing, but I didn't want to believe what was going on. I didn't want to act on what I knew I had to do. And this can also come through goosebumps. Goosebumps is a really common form, like when someone says something that like totally lands and totally resonates, like you get the goosebumps. And this also happens like through the sense of smell. I knew a woman once who would smell smoke when danger was near or when someone was angry. And that smoke was intuitive. There was nothing was burning, there wasn't any smoke around, but smelling that particular smell when danger or something wasn't right or someone was angry nearby. When I was also in the process of leaving my relationship, I remember calling my best friend and saying like, he doesn't even smell the same. And I remember that to this day because it was such a distinct shift. Like, I had been with this person and lived with this person for 5 years. Like, they're, really, like, it's not like he switched cologne or soap or anything like that, but intuitively something literally smelled differently. Like, how people say, like, someone smells like they're up to no good, like putting that into form and listening to that too. And again, not discounting that, even though it may seem silly, even though it may be, may not make sense, but listening to that. Yeah, whoa. So we will move into the mosaic now. And I love the mosaic because I think of patterns. And that's exactly what the mosaic is how intuition comes through, is physical signs and synchronicities as patterns in the universe and in the world. And this can, manifest as angel numbers that you see anywhere on the clock, on the phone, the gas station, when you're checking out, whatever it is, seeing some angel numbers, 111, 444, all of those amazing numbers. And also getting signs, receiving signs from the universe, such as finding a feather. Jody, I know you just said that you've received a lot of signs. I'd love to hear, what they are, or, thinking of, obviously not right now, but when we can, thinking of planning a trip and getting confirmation signs from the universe, like seeing billboards to Tulum. A friend just got back from Tulum, like Tulum keeps popping up in this pattern. Maybe I'll look into going to Tulum, right? And I love this archetype because this is a really great way to tap into your intuition, to begin to build trust with your intuition, because this allows you to be in conversation with the universe, asking for signs, asking for symbols, asking for these angel numbers as confirmation. And usually they're sent to you. It's a part of our brain also, the reticular activating system. When we see something, we associate it with something, and then our brain starts to look for that more and more and more. So obviously, when you ask the universe for something, there is an energetic exchange in that ask, in that active giving and receiving. But knowing that also your brain is designed to begin to trust itself when you start to see those patterns show up, when you start to see those synchronicities. And again, that's an incredible way to just start to build that trust. I also love doing this through any oracle cards or tarot cards. Again, just looking for that confirmation within something else. That doesn't mean that your intuition lies in these cards. It doesn't mean that your intuition lies in these billboards in Mexico or whatever, but again, allowing yourself to see those synchronicities. Jody says, yes, always signs. I'll kind of ask and see that symbol, or a song comes on, or words from someone out of the blue, exactly what I asked to see. Amazing. Yes, yes, yes. You probably have a lot of the mosaic in you, Jody. I'm so excited to dive more into that. Jody's an intention and intuition. Yeah, girl, we're gonna have so much fun. Yeah, and so when you use these external tools, you're also able to ask answers. Oh, I don't have it with me. Oh, yes, I do. You're also able to ask answers. So like through cards, when I was in the process of really learning to trust myself again, oh yeah, Jody says animal and birds can be signs too. Absolutely, signs in nature. I also used a pendulum that can tell you yes and can tell you no. It's simply an extension of your energy. It's not anything outside of you. It's not, you know, an external force moving this pendulum. This is simply an extension of your energy. And I used this for so long because I didn't trust myself. I was like, I don't know, but it's a good way to like, hey, I'm getting this intuitive inkling. How is this going to swing? Is this going to swing yes? Is this going to swing no? Because it's simply just an extension of yourself. And it's, you know, an extension of your energy. Same with the cards. So we will move into the 7th archetype. Oops, sorry, I got a call. 7th archetype now, which is the dreamer. This one is pretty obvious that you most likely experience intuition through your dreams, through a dream-like state when you're sleeping. And oftentimes lessons can be learned through your dreams. You can have an aha moment, or maybe something makes sense in your dreams. I am not a person. I can't remember my dreams. I've tried to have a dream journal. I've done all the things, and that's just like, I'm not a dreamer. I'm not that person, which is fine. So if you're one of those people, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your experience with dreams. And, you know, this is really from interviews and from clients' experiences as well. But, you know, this intuition expressing needs and desires through dreams. Obviously, this is an aspect of, you know, Sigmund Freud, his thought that, you know, dreams are just an extension of us communicating our needs and our desires, but I believe there's a deeper piece in that. Like, why do we have dreams? Like, how does that manifest? What does that look like? What are the symbols in your dreams? What is the message in your dreams? And when you're in this dream state, when you're sleeping, you are in a state of non-doing. You dissociate from I. You dissociate from the ego because you are dreaming. And so here it's just, you're allowed to accept messages from the divine. You're allowed for situations to play out without your ego getting in the way and questioning if this is right or if this is wrong or if you should listen to this or go this way or whatever. And that's what's so powerful about the dreamer as this archetype. And if you think about it, looking back in history, like from the beginning of time, this has been one of the most intuitive channels. You know, angels come through in dreams, messages and visions of new worlds, you know, thinking of just simply like the Bible, you know, many people having dreams where angels come through and deliver a message. That is the archetype of the dreamer. And obviously sometimes it may not be that, you know, huge angelic moment, but I had a dream a little bit ago. Like I said, I don't remember them. This is the only reason I remember it, was I had to go to the store and I had to get 8 eggs. And for me, this is like total interpretation, but I knew this is what it meant. 8 is the number of abundance, and egg seems to be, you know, rebirth. Something's being born, something's being, you know, fertilized and ready to be birthed. So again, just taking little hints and allowing yourself to have fun and play with the things that come through in your dreams. Like I knew, okay, something's coming, abundance is coming. I have to create. creation will in fact lead me to abundance. So that's how I took it. So yes, if you're a dreamer, let me know, because that's not a strong point for me, and I'd love to hear more about your dreams and your experiences. So, my friends, those are the 7 intuitive archetypes. Feel free to drop one that resonates with you most. Thank you for sharing your experiences already. I love hearing about them. So now we're going to move into a few different tips to connect to your intuition. So excited. So the first tip I have for you is to be in ritual. Prepare your surrounding space. And beginning to open communication with your soul is a sacred experience. Obviously, you may not be in the position at all times to light a candle or to take a bath, but being in ritual can be as simple as taking a few deep breaths. Again, clearing out any of the distractions, getting yourself into your body, opening up those channels and preparing for that communication, opening communication with your soul. Again, it doesn't have to look like a big extravagant sort of ritual. It can simply just be a few deep breaths and setting aside intentional time if you have that luxury, and also putting away distractions. And so my favorite way to connect to intuition, again, putting a lot of intention into this and letting this be a ritual, is being in the bathtub, getting all of the oils, all of the salts. And again, I recognize that is absolutely a privilege, but that is where my intuition comes through the best, is setting up that ritual. And again, preparing to be in the energy of receiving and welcoming in the divine to your space. So the next step, or the next tip, is set an intention. This is so powerful. Again, what is your purpose? What is your reason for communicating with your intuition, with communicating with your soul? And it doesn't always have to be, like, I would like to know what the weather's going to be tomorrow. Like, I don't know if that's going to come through, right? But I always set the intention, like, may this bath allow me to connect to my intuition, to connect to my creativity, or coming with, one question and knowing that may not be answered, but putting intention behind it is going to be so powerful. And also keeping in mind and asking yourself the question, is this intention, this purpose, this question, is this in line for the highest good? Is this for the highest good of all? And when it is in alignment with the highest good of yourself, with everybody else, with all beings, your intuition is more likely to communicate clearly and come through. And here in this space, as you set an intention, you ask for what you want. You put desire into motion. And if you don't ever ask for anything, you're never going to receive anything. So again, setting an intention in that sacred way of asking, of being available to receive. So the next tip I have is asking the mind and the ego to now step aside. This is a huge, huge, huge key in tapping into your intuition. So the mind wants to make sense of everything. The mind wants to grasp to logic and to certainty. And here's the thing about intuition, it doesn't always make sense. It defies logic, it defies reason, it goes against everything that we've been taught, right? Everything we've been taught in school, everything that adds up, science, and I love science and listen to science, but sometimes we discount it. We weren't always taught to listen to those inklings, those feelings, those whispers, those knowings. And so when we take a moment, set the intention, set the space, and ask, make an intention, the mind to step aside, that allows the soul to begin to step in. And the mind is going to want to second guess your intuition. Your mind is going to want to make sense of it. Your mind is going to want to challenge your intuition. And this is where that aspect of trust comes in. You must trust that whatever has come through, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're experiencing, this form of intuition is safe to follow, is safe to lean into. It is safe to trust. Again, ego in mind, Gotta step aside for you to be in clear communication. And that's a hard one. That's a hard one. But even speaking that out loud, like, mind, please step aside. Ego, or intuition, I invite you in. Like that statement in itself can just be so powerful. And then obviously connecting with your intuitive archetypes. If you want to focus on one, sometimes when I draw cards, I place my hand, I ask that intuition comes through and speaks through me through physical feeling. And usually my hand will get a little tingle, or it'll get hot or cold over the card that I know I just have to draw, and seeing how those kind of all tie together. But connecting simply to the soma, that archetype, when I'm drawing a card and asking it to come through in that certain way. And again, being open and available for any of the archetypes to come through. And simply being present to what's happening around you, what's happening inside of you. Being open and available to all of those intuitive archetypes, to all of those intuitive channels. I know that can feel like a lot. That's why, again, if you're new to this work, I suggest maybe focusing on one, building that trust, and then beginning to expand the archetypes and the intuitive channels. So yeah, simply just being present. What are you hearing? What are you seeing when you close your eyes? What are you feeling inside of your body? What feeling, what energy is alive within you? What patterns are you seeing? Again, just being completely present to the experience, to the moment. And then again, being available to exchange energy with the universe, being available to receive the wisdom, the knowing that is coming through. And this is such an important part, letting go of the outcome and the expectations. So again, you rob yourself of that experience when you second guess it, when you think your intuition is going to come through one way, when you think the outcome is going to look one way. You're not listening to your intuition. Again, you're up in the mind. So that's such an important part. And knowing too that your soul reveals the next step in divine timing. So letting go of the timeline, letting go of the outcome, letting go of expectations, and simply being available to receive, being available to exchange that energy with the universe. That's why we set the intention, because you're offering something. That's why you are in ritual. You're offering something, and then you're available to receive it. So again, that giving and receiving effect. We're going to dive more into intention and all of that, obviously, and intention and intuition this weekend. I'm so excited. So the next tip I have is being in conversation with your intuition, allowing yourself to engage with your intuition, engaging with what comes through. This, in fact, can be a two-way street. And so when something comes through, allow yourself to play with that idea, to be in this energy of playfulness. Oftentimes I'll talk something out loud. When I get an idea in my head, when I get a feeling, I'll simply just begin to kind of talk to it, to play with it, or just give voice to it. And I'm like, oh, nope, that doesn't sound right. Let me try it this way. And then like speaking, verbally processing it through that way. I'm like, oh, that was it. That makes so much more sense. This is what I need to do next. And so again, just being in conversation with that part of you and being in conversation with what comes through. You don't always have to talk to yourself out loud. This can simply be journaling different outcomes of what is coming through, and just giving yourself permission to engage in these ideas that you're experiencing. Being in the energy of possibility, what could happen, what could come through, and playing with those ideas, playing with that energy. And when you initiate that playfulness within yourself, again, you're activating the divine feminine, the feminine energy that lives within, which is the stem of intuition, which inspires and sparks the intuition that lives inside. So yeah, be playful with that energy, be playful with yourself, be playful with your ideas. So we are down to our last few tips. Feel free to start to gather your questions if you have any. I'll open it up for questions here in just a moment at the end. Are you guys okay? Lost connection there. One of the last few tips I have for you is saying thank you. Saying thank you to your intuition and being in the energy of gratitude. Again, you've been in ritual, you set an intention, you've done all of these steps and have engaged with the divine. Maybe you received something, maybe you didn't, but just being grateful for being in the presence of that energy, being grateful for yourself, for trusting whatever comes through. Again, just saying thank you, being grateful. And when you're in that energy of like saying thank you, more is likely to come. Again, it's still that conversation with the universe, it's still that conversation with the soul, and saying thank you, gratitude, that is huge. So, word is so today, apparently. The last tip I am going to leave you with is taking action. Taking inspired action from your intuition. And this doesn't necessarily mean to go and to do and to push forward and to look for answers. Sometimes surrender is actually the action. Sometimes waiting is actually the action. And so knowing that you can take action, it just may not look like the form that you wanted it to immediately, and simply being patient. Again, the universe operates on its own timeline. What's revealed to you will be revealed in its own divine timing. The universe is not on your timeline. It ain't on 24 hours. It ain't on the moon cycle. But whatever you are seeking, whatever you are looking for, what clarity you are asking for, will come through if you trust it. It will come through when it is meant to come through. So those are the tips that I have for you right now. Again, we're all going to go a little bit deeper inside intention and intuition this weekend. So that's happening this Sunday, the 24th, and Monday, the 25th. So we have 2 full days beginning to unpack this further and tap into this even deeper. And so how this is going to work is this is going to be separated into 2 days. One day we'll focus more on intention. The other day we'll focus on intuition. And obviously we're going to blend those together. But knowing that we're going to move through the 7 archetypes in much more depth. Again, 7 archetypes, 7 chakras, learning the gifts of each archetype and discerning how it shows up as ego, learning even the shadow side of each archetype, and truly learning to trust yourself. Again, that is the base and that is the foundation of intuition, is learning to trust yourself. And then moving into intention. Once you've kind of laid the ground, the foundation of intuition, you can begin to create your intentions through your intuition. And just like we were talking about a little bit earlier with those tips, creating an intention to connect with your intuition. So these are super intertwined, and intention is infusing purpose into anything you do, say, act upon. It's purpose. And so allowing yourself to not only just like set an intention for 2021, set an intention before you drink your tea, but really embodying this intention and truly beginning to infuse this intention into everything you do in life. And really, again, getting clear on your purpose. Again, intention is purpose infused into anything. So getting clear on what that purpose is, the why behind everything. So much juicy stuff inside. I would be so honored to welcome you into that space, to have you join us inside. Yes, I know a lot of the beautiful ladies who are on this masterclass right now are already signed up. So I would love and be so honored to invite you into this space. You can find the link in my bio. The price right now is $111 for 2 days. There's a buddy pass too, so if you want to grab a sis, if you want to grab a friend, whoever it is, you can both get 2 tickets for a discounted price. So thank you so much for being here. I would like to take a moment and just open this up for questions as well. If anybody had any questions, we really plowed through so much today. We are going on over an hour, over 60 minutes, and I know that can feel like a lot to unpack. That can feel like a lot to digest and chew on. So I'm going to stay on for just a little bit in case anybody does have questions. Again, if this is resonating, if this is landing, know that we're going to take this to a whole nother level. We're going to go even deeper this weekend inside intention and intuition. Again, 2 full days of really just uncovering, unpacking, discovering, and just being in that presence. Yes, Jody says, oh yes, baths are my quiet place. You and me both, girl. I love baths. Yay, Caitlin says, empath and the visual one, the beholder. I always like to think of like the eye of the beholder. Yay! You are so welcome. Okay, so if you're watching the replay, feel free to hashtag replay. If you have any questions, drop them in the replay. I'm so excited to see you on Sunday too, Jody. I love you all. Don't forget to trust yourself. Go check out the 7 intuitive archetypes. Feel into which one you resonate with most, or again, just play with those channels and how they come through. I cannot wait. I will see you inside intention and intuition this weekend. The link is in the bio to sign up. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Mwah.